Hello, these are the Valorant 6.11 patch notes. This is going to go out on the same day as the patch notes going live, but I'm not 100% sure if that's for every time zone or not. So depending where you are, might change. Also, I'm not going to go over the Pearl changes in this video, as I went over them in a couple videos ago. So general, we've cleaned up some of the code related to trajectory of grenade-like projectiles. So what this means is they'll still land in the same place. Your lineup should still be fine. But they've made it more efficient in the way that it calculates what it's doing, or how it's flying through the air, etc. And what that means is it might mean that a new agent is going to come out very soon, or in the year's time, or whatever, that has brought attention to a problem in the calculation of projectiles that they want to get around, or that they need to upgrade this code, because there's going to be an agent that interacts with this in a way that's important that they change the code, and that's the same with this one as well. So we've upgraded the sound generation engine in the game. This covers all sound except for voice chat and teaser videos in the collection. Again, if we've done our job right, you should notice nothing different. So this could mean that they've had to change this because they want to implement a new agent in the game later on, or maybe a different system or something along those lines, right? That could be that, or it could be that they just thought that this needed like a cleaning up. Right, that's one of the two things, right? But this could be interesting that maybe an agent could have caused this, a new agent, up-and-coming agent. We might not even find out until a year or two's time because of the amount of time it can take to develop some agents. So we'll see if this actually was the reason for an agent or not at some point, or if this because an agent or not at some point. Agent update. So Viper fuel regeneration is 5% from 5% to 3.3%, and increased time to regenerate max fuel once empty is 20 seconds to 30 seconds. So this is going to impact pro play a lot more than it's going to impact ranked, because generally games just don't unfold that way in ranked. You don't need to stall out like this with full fuel regeneration and things as much on Viper in ranked as you would if you're a pro player in pro games. However, this actually has an interesting side effect as well. So Viper needs to have 25 fuel, I'm pretty sure, to activate her wall and her orb, or her orb, or both, which means that this now becomes 5 seconds before she can get her orb back up or her wall back up to 7.5 seconds, which technically might actually change some rank games a bit, or some rank rounds a bit, to make her a bit more punishable if she runs out of fuel, because I've found that a lot of people don't punish her, so it might not affect ranked because people don't actually realize it, that they can punish her when her fuel's down, and they don't realize that the yellow light means that it's off. But maybe it makes people a lot more aware of it now, this change, and that the 7.5 seconds might make it more viable to actually push and kill her as well, depending on some maps, or like where the placement of the orb and the wall is, where she's positioned. But generally, the change might not. I don't think it's going to push Viper out either. I think as long as Harbor's still played, we'll still see Viper. We might get some messing around with Astra at Harbor, especially on Pearl, as it was already kind of like a lower percentage played comp. But generally, we're probably going to keep seeing Viper with Harbor, at least in Americas. I don't think we're going to see it from, I think, EU and Pacific. They're going to be playing Harbor Astra for the most part. But we'll see. We'll see. Chamber, this is going to be this is a really fun change, these fun changes. So because I personally like Chamber a lot. So trademark is higher disable range. So basically there's like some areas in a lot of maps, basically most maps, that you want to have the trip behind you, anti-flank, but at the same time you can't take any good fights because you're limited by the range. So this makes a lot of sense for me. I think as well, this is just 10 meters. In other words, as well, it's like 1,000 units per 10 meters. So this is a 10 additional meters, so you can actually test it in the range, the difference. And I think it's actually quite significant to have an extra 10 meters on the radius. Trap arm speed is now 2 seconds instead of 4. So this actually helps aggressive chambers with aggressive placements of traps, which is like a really big meta way back when Chamber was first released. But was a bit less so recently. When he got his one trap, it started to be less so because you wouldn't generally play a Sentinel with Chamber. But actually, as he's moved out of the meta, sometimes teams that would actually play Chamber in this meta would play him with either Cypher, or they'd play him with a Viper, and the Viper would actually take over that role in some ways. And you would actually notice some players using the trap to clear things aggressively. And I think that this is like a big change, saying that Riot clearly thinks that they want the trap to be for that purpose, or at least have that option. And I like that as well. I think it's really, really good. Rendezvous instant equip out of teleport. This is going to be wild. I have no clue how it's going to work, but I think overall it's a buff to Chamber. It still is a buff regardless of if it's actually going to work out in practice. So what you can do, you can make more active plays with your teleport, so you can teleport behind people off an omen blind or something along those lines, right? If a teammate decides to flash, you can technically teleport behind someone or on top of someone or around the corner and insta-equip out the teleport, so you're not actually vulnerable after the TP. I think it's pretty crazy. We'll have to see how it works out. Tour de Force firing rate has increased by 15%. I think overall, the last time this was nerfed, it was an over nerf. So this being reverted slightly makes a lot of sense. Now he'll be faster firing and more deadly when teams are flooding into him, which is good. I think overall these are good changes. I don't think they're not holding back too much. At the same time, they're not over buffing him again. So I think overall Chamber's going to be a bit more balanced. But it just depends on if he fits into the meta or not as time goes on. Because he has to compete versus Killjoy and Cypher, both of which kind of have their own attractions to their kit. And Chamber sort of overlaps them both in a negative way, where he likes to have the trap plays, but Cypher can do other things other than trap plays. And Killjoy, while she can also do other things, she can also do trap plays better than Chamber can. So it's kind of looking like Chamber probably won't fit until he gets like a really good buff. I don't think any of these fit that criteria yet. We'll have to see. Depends on if Killjoy or Cypher get nerfed. So we'll see. Misk, Yoru's fake out can now be visually affected by concussing abilities. Yep, that's fine. Just makes it more likely that the fake out is like not detected very easily. Completely fine. To increase player discernibility, the timing of omens from the Shadows voice line has been slightly pushed forward. 10 out of 10, great. We've updated the ability action icons to be more consistent across all agents and abilities that have a common cast paradigm or output. We've also added new ones to where it was necessary. These icons above your... Okay, this might actually affect some stuff with lineups, because you might have some lineups that used the ability icons. I know I do. So hopefully they didn't change that much. So map updates, Pearl is disabled. That's fine because we're going to get Pearl changes. So I'm guessing it's going to be disabled for about 2 weeks. And then we'll get it back. Or actually, it's going to be disabled for 3 weeks. And then when the new app comes out, we'll probably get it back. Gameplay system updates. Combat report now shows allies dazed. Addition to enemies dazed, great, because you want to know if you've actually dazed allies. Then you can make it better next time. Weapons updates. So this is really, really big. No, actually, no, sorry, it's the next one that's really big. The weapon action, as of yet, this is quite good for like split. And Icebox, even though Icebox has rotated out. Min spread on ropes has increased to 65% of the walking speed, or walking spread, sorry. Which means that all guns, aside from shotguns, are going to be inaccurate on the rope. Snipers are inaccurate on the rope, but they're really inaccurate anyway, so they decided to just unchanged. It's already really inaccurate. Shotguns are the only gun on the rope that's going to be even a bit accurate. The SMGs, sorry, the Ghost seems to not be too bad. The Classic and the Frenzy seems not too bad, but the Frenzy is already I mean, I guess when you're like going super close to range, these ones probably make the most sense to have like kind of nerfed, because they're going to be the ones that are going to be fighting on the rope most of the time. And shotguns are also going to be the ones fighting on the rope most of the time. So I guess they want to make shotguns the only gun that can fight on the rope, and all the rest they can't. They can't. And that's completely fine. I think that's a good change. If anything, nowadays, I would honestly personally include the shotguns on there as well. But I don't understand why they don't. Walking and running spread on ropes increased to match the walking and running spread on the ground. So basically, what was happening is, if you're running on the ropes, it will still use the walking spread to impact your running on the ropes. For your spread on your gun, right? And that's the reason why you could like go up and down the wire and you could still be quite accurate. And now they've changed that completely. Well, they haven't really changed it. What's happened is they've reversed it back to walking spread, but they've also made the walking spread worse on the rope. So it's probably still gonna be better than running. It's probably still gonna be a bit equal to what it was actually. Thinking about it, unless they have actually made it drastically more. I'm not exactly sure on the maths about it, so I'd have to look at it for some other time. Shorty reserve ammo adjusted from 10 to 6. Matters on pistol for some people in pistol rounds. I mean, I'd like to go shorty, might matter for them, but generally they're getting 1 pumps in pistol, so don't think it matters. Honestly, the only time that the ammo this ammo matters is in such fringe cases. Unreal. It shouldn't have had that many bullets to begin with anyway. Price adjusted from 150 to 300. Needed change. Maybe a bit harsh, but because they are also affecting the value of the gun as well by decreasing its damage. So I think this was overall a bit harsh. I would have made it 250, I think. Make it so it's still an option for people to go. But it's got nowhere near the amount of value. Well, it does have a bit more. It is close still to how it was before, but you are losing quite a significant amount of damage. Bear in mind that this damage is per pellet, right? So you are losing like this times the pellets, which I don't actually know how many pellets there is on a shorty. It would be about 17, I think. I could be wrong. I think there's about 17 pellets. You lose about 17 damage on the shorty. That could be wrong. Maybe 18 damage would make more sense, but damage at first step fall off, so 7 meters adjusted from 8 to 6. So basically, they've made it so past 7 meters, the fall off is greater, so you get less damage. That's good. That's really good. The shorty was way too good for how much it cost, and for it being a secondary in general. Because there's no way that, because there's lots of times where you'd be fighting people. They have a vandal, you have a vandal, but they reload, you don't. But you can't push them because if they have a shorty, you lose the fight because you decided to push them and they're just going to whip the shorty out and kill you. It's stupid, honestly. And the same with the op as well, where like you can't push the operator player because he'll take a shot, they get at the shorty, and then there's nothing you can do because you can't push the guy. You just have to hold him and just hope that you win the fight on the hold, which is the best way to play against them, to be fair, is to hold the angle they're going to peek into, because they are less mobile than you. So they that takes longer for them to peek into you and shoot than it does for you to shoot them if you're holding the angle. But you can never push them as well, so it makes it a lot harder in general to play against the op and navigate versus jets with shorty op. But I'm going to go with the frenzy. So min spread has been increased. Yeah, the frenzy is going to be nowhere near as good, I think. Maximum spread reached in 5 bullets instead of 6, which basically just makes the curve steeper. So you need to get the kill early, otherwise you're not going to get the kill probably now. Or at least you're going to be relying heavily on RNG to get that kill. Which honestly the frenzy already did. So it's probably going to affect the frenzy quite a bit. I actually see this being like the nail in the coffin for frenzy. For now at least. And this is one of the biggest changes of the patch. So this is error power. So what this is it's a center biasing tool that they use to bias shots towards the center of the crosshair. So they heavily bias the crosshair, the bullets towards the crosshair when you're standing still, right? But when you're moving, they're gonna make it so it's less biased. So even when you're walking, right, it's gonna be a bit more biased towards the center of the crosshair than when you were running. Or when you're jumping, it's gonna be very, very biased away from the crosshair at a greater distance. So basically, running and gunning is going to be way less useful. Running and gunning is going to be generally way less accurate. Or not way less, but generally less accurate than it is now. Which means, and that's for every gun. The error power applies to the player. So it literally is that every gun is affected by this. So we might actually see some drastic changes to gunplay. It would actually be crazy that there's gonna be some players that actually get significantly worse from this change, because they were always like not quite. They were always moving a lot when they were actually shooting their bullets, when they thought they were like counter strafing things. This is what you said the shot error on as well, and try and clean up your gunplay, because if you notice you're missing a lot more shots in the next act, then you may have been one of these players that weren't stopping correctly in your counter strafes. So you need to make sure you put on your shot error graph, and make sure that you aren't messing up your counter strafes. Bug fixes. Silver's cave dynamics were redone and smoothed out, while still maintaining a silhouette close to his body. Do not give away enemy player position. I mean, technically, this can make him more visible around corners and things. So we'll have to just see how that goes. Clearly, they've said that they maintained a close silhouette, but it might be a more out than it was. So it might actually be technically a little bit of a nerf to Silver. And that's how to report bugs. So I guess we're all done. Yep. Okay. Thanks for watching.